nobody else. Just got to be yourself, but don't try to be nobody else.
Recorded live in the engine room at Broad Ripple, this is the Voices of Indy live stream hosted by Josh Gillespie. Voices of Indy is a show dedicated to giving you the opportunity to know the musical, visual, and theatrical arts of Indianapolis, Indiana. This week's guest is the blues artist J.B. Soul of J.B. Soul and the Blue News. You may be familiar with their music as they got a song in the show Bloodline, as well as the video game Rebel Galaxy. Those placements have been able to get them over 1 million streams. So we'll be talking about that, and it's going to be exciting. Today's episode is sponsored by Indianapolis Independent Entertainment. IIE LLC's goal is to help grow local DIY artists, freelancers, and businesses within Indianapolis and generate more paying creative opportunities. Their mission is simple: to establish a network of creatives who excel in areas of need and connecting them with other network members. This way, they can help to expand the local art and music scenes. IIE believes that by eliminating some of the intimidating barriers within the entertainment industry, more opportunities will be produced for local freelancers and businesses. This will help Indianapolis become the place to go for art and music in the Midwest. If you are interested in learning more, go to their website, www.indyent.com. That's INDYINDIEENT.com. And fill out a free application to discuss how you and IIE can redefine making it together. And like I said, this week's guest is Brent. He goes
I like to keep it mysterious.
You do. It's like Leonard Skinner. So, Brent, thank you for being on the show this week.
Thank you for having me.
And
thank you.
actually, thank you for even reaching out.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been exciting to get to know different artists within the Indianapolis area and within Indiana. We've had a couple of artists come from outside the Indianapolis area. And it's been
about 70 miles away.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are. So for those who may not be familiar with J.B. Soul and the Blue News, or formerly just the Blue News.
Just the Blue News before.
Yeah.
There's
and
a
we'll
band
talk
in
about
Europe.
that too.
Yeah, there's a band in Europe, so I had to change it.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
How did you find that out?
Because their gig was on my Spotify, and then somebody asked me, they're like, "You're playing in Germany?" I was like, "I wish, man. No,
Right.
No, there's..." So somebody else just picked that name,
Well, how about that?
The thing about it is that band name, like, just fell in my lap, and it's actually like this thing called a spoonerism where you switch the words around. So the new blues, the Blue News is how that started.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't think anybody even probably knows that, but
no, it's okay. So tell me real quick, what should people know about JB Soul and the Blue News for those who may not be familiar? Granted, we got your music. Gotten over 1 million streams, which is very impressive.
I'm still surprised. I look at it from the outside like it's like not even me.
Yeah.
Somehow,
So how did let's talk about that. What got you into music? What drove you to the blues?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I was invited to sing in a band because I sang like in school, and some new guys came into my school and they played instruments, were into rock music and stuff. And so a girl in my class was like, "He can sing." And that's how it started, basically. But within about the first year, I got bored of like Ozzy Osbourne covers and was like, I'm going to write stuff, because that's how you make money while you're asleep. And
That's
somehow
true,
I knew that at that young age. It was just like,
you were already aware of the concept of passive income.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know what it was called, but I was like, we need to write tunes other people will play eventually. Or, so I started writing terrible songs for, I would say, easily 5 years, taught myself how to play the guitar because I couldn't practice enough. I caught the bug, and, every day I woke up and was like, you coming to play? You coming to play? And everybody had lives. So I was like, well, if I want to write and I want to sing, I need to be able to accompany myself, So got into the blues, I guess just I took a class that was like the history of jazz, blues, and rock while I was in school. So I was so bored with all the stuff you have to take.
Sure.
I was like, that's interesting, And then just became fascinated with how everything modern is built from these building blocks that started in America. Well, essentially like Northern Africa, then into America. But it just resonates with me. I remember watching, it might have been Muddy Waters or Buddy Guy. I don't remember for sure. But in an interview, they're like, I'm just a blues man because I still have hope even when there's no sign that I should.
Wow.
And that to me sums up like the blues and why I love it. It's just like, yeah, sometimes you look around and there's not one sign that things are gonna be all right, but you still hold on to hope. You know, and that just resonated with me. It was just like, it's so melancholy sounding, but yet there is that hope in it. You know,
it's a phrase that I like to I think of, delightfully melancholy. I'm
sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised if mine
I
happens to
turned
go
off
at the same time.
notifications and then it,
but yeah, delightfully melancholy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've used that to describe, you know, several different lead singers' voices that I enjoy from bands that aren't the blues. I mean, I love the blues, but
it's the great thing about music in general,
yeah,
right? It's just that emotion can be there without the desperation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's still music. So it's not ever gonna go into the depths.
Well, and there's so much feeling there. And I mean, and there is so much emotion that comes out of the blues that it's, you know, there's a song that I'm working on on my album that I want to say is like happy blues.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
It's
there's
like
so
a
many
misnomer,
flavors. No, there's so many flavors of the blues.
But you're right, there are many flavors of the blues, and I'm just like, that's kind of the goal that I'm going for, is happy blues.
I can't wait to hear it, man. I can't wait to hear it. Does it kind of follow the standard progressions? Does it go like, you know, to the 5th and the 7th and all that, or I kind of call it like the turnaround, where, you know, it's going to go where you expect it to, but sometimes what I like to do is just stay in the key, or just go to the 5th and back, you know, and change it up. But
no, it stays within the key there, so but it's a lot of fun. Actually, it's the closer of my album.
Cool.
And
what's the title?
Ghost Stories.
Okay.
That's the one that I'm working here at the Engine Room Recording Studio.
Engine Room Recording Company.
Yes.
In Broad Ripple, Indianapolis.
That's right.
We got to plug them.
We do, and they will be getting a plug later in the show.
They didn't charge me very much to come in tonight. So. There's your plug. Thanks, guys.
That's right. But no, it's I don't want to be, this isn't about me.
No, Brent. It's fine. Yeah. No, I want to actually talk a lot about others.
Yeah.
That was my plan, because that's what I'm doing currently.
Yeah, no, I want to get into that. You do a lot of production work.
Yeah, I have a home studio and go to Nashville from time to time.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Who are you working with right now?
Okay.
And who have you been working with in the past that you really gets you excited?
Okay. All right. So I'll go through just like a list of names.
Go do it.
So Dusty Richardson is my homie. He was the drummer at the end of the Blue News when we toured. And I guess I should point out, I stopped playing out basically a decade ago.
Really?
Yeah. When I started teaching, I just didn't have the time.
Sure.
You know, and I still played. I just didn't go out and play.
Yeah.
And so either way, so Dusty, when I kind of got off the road, he went down to Nashville and became an engineer. Got certified at Dark Horse Studios, and now works for Universal doing surround sound remixes for Dolby Atmos.
Very cool.
Yeah, his list of credits is, I don't even want to go into it because there's such a long list.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're that interested, you go look him up. So with our productions, you know, separate obviously from him doing remixes for Universal, been actually working with a keys player in Germany named Paul Hoffman, where we just connected online, I think on Instagram. And I dug what he was doing. He dug what I was doing. I was like, hey, you know, I see you're all about keys and I don't really have that resource. Like, can I send you a track, you know?
Yeah.
And so now I think we're on about the 3rd or 4th track where I send it to Germany and he records stems and he sends them back to me and I drop them in the song and mix it in.
No way.
Yeah, we've done, 3 originals and a cover. So I'm working on a cover of Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
And the reason for that is I'm working with a very talented singer named Ari Musique, who is just a huge fangirl of Stevie Nicks and just nails the vocals on it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, really.
That's hard to do.
Well, yeah. It's a special thing. So yeah, we have a cover that we're working on pre-production still right now, which if you could imagine trying to nail Fleetwood Mac harmonies
That's
alone.
yeah, no, I can't even imagine that. That's
I
they're so rich,
I have to
and
look them up. I have to like find them soloed out because
really,
yeah, it's a little like Alice in Chains in the 90s,
yes,
right? Like
yeah. Oh man,
you
they
have
had.
to look up the notation sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because they were like mad scientists.
Oh, they were.
Yeah. So okay, RE Musique, Dustin Richardson, Paul Hoffman. Another drummer, a friend of mine that I used to play with in a different band. His name Jeff Winchester,
Mm-hmm.
and I've helped him produce. I think he's put out 6 songs now, and he's had a huge response.
Really?
And it's very experimental rock,
Mm-hmm.
like very progressive experimental. And he somehow connected with a singer out of L.A. named Summer Watson,
Mm-hmm.
and then she added some clout and credibility to the track that they
Yeah.
put out together.
Mm-hmm.
But he really got a good response joining like this competition to go out and play in LA. And I mean, his streams outshine ours monthly now.
Really?
Like I look at the stats on ours and his, and it's like, whoa,
Wow.
he's doing something right.
Yeah.
So
What's he doing
I'm just in the back
yeah.
seat. I'm just like, hey, when you get on TV, mention my name or something.
Right. No, exactly.
So yeah, and then we try and collaborate in a way that is very open, where like I was mentioning, the Blue News now is JB Soul in the Blue News, and the reason I did that was because there's another band, and I didn't want it to get mixed up eventually. But another thing was that I'm producing all these different things, and I thought, well, I should just get a pseudonym of some kind to where I can just go play with any band.
Sure. Yeah.
JB Soul and whoever, and that also kind of like frees me up to stylistically, because I love the blues, but I also love rock and roll. And so I write things sometimes that just won't fly probably with the people that dig the Blue News.
Yeah.
Like
I
it's
get
more
it.
punk or grunge kind of sound. So I don't like to I don't like those limitations, I guess, is a lot of the reason why all that kind of happened.
No, I hear you. I'm currently the project that I'm working on is so different from my first album.
Mm-hmm.
That
you just go where you feel like you need to go.
Yeah.
Right?
And part of me has wondered because like I was practicing, I had band practice yesterday. And just playing with the guys, it's awesome fun, but it's the stuff that's going on the second album isn't necessarily something that I would play with them.
Right.
There are a couple tracks, like 2 or 3 tracks that I probably would. And it would sound completely different than what I'm recording.
Right. Well, as a creative, you want to grow, but then your audience is going to have expectations.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Some of the stuff I love the most, they just boldly kind of do what they do. From one album to the next, it may not sound very similar. And I appreciate that because I like to create. And so just more paint for the palette, But I can understand why other people get bummed. Like, why does that sound so different?
No, I love it when artists are willing to take that chance.
Yeah.
And I remember having this conversation with Joshua Powell a couple weeks ago, and just talking about the differences in how some bands will actually just go about. And he's one of those guys who, if you listen to some of his earlier stuff, like especially when he was with the Great Train Robbery, it's very folkish. And you fast forward to now, and he's now, one person was claiming him as like indie metal.
Right.
So it's like
it's a big contrast.
It's a huge contrast. And it's not like I think of AC/DC as one of those bands that you can count on their albums sounding the same day in, day out, but at the same time, it's AC/DC. They know what to do.
Right. Yeah. But they figured the formula out. So why would they mess with it?
Exactly. Not gonna change something that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I appreciate the artists that are willing to take the chance. One of my all-time favorite bands, REM, they were forced to go through a change. I mean, they had their 80s sound, they had their 90s sound, but when their drummer quit for health reasons, they had to completely revamp their sound. and it took a couple albums.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man,
There were a
boy, did
couple
it
that I
really take.
skipped.
Yeah. Oh boy, did it take a
I love
couple.
some R.E.M., but I did skip a couple of those.
No,
yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm a diehard, so I've listened to them. I own them, and there's a part of me that loves them, even though if I'm making a list
Yeah.
of
I have
of their
artists
albums in
like that,
order,
too.
they're always at the bottom.
Yeah.
But still, they were willing to take that risk,
Yeah.
you know, and to take that chance to
Well, you don't want to be
challenge your creative side.
pigeonholed,
Yeah,
and you don't want to write for other people's expectations. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
So who would you say, I mean, who have been your influences growing up? Because we're the same age.
yeah.
So it'd be kind of interesting to talk about.
We won't say what the age is.
We won't. No, we won't. We won't. But it'd be kind of interesting to see what some of your influences, like even some of your top albums growing up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And how they may have influenced your sound now, whether it is blues or anything else.
Yeah. Well, I should start out saying like I've had a lot like enough reviews where I have some pretty funny mentions here. Like I've been called Creepy Elvis in a review before. This sounds like Creepy Elvis. Like I don't know if that's a compliment. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than not saying anything, I guess.
Yeah.
Clapton, Chris Cornell vocals I've heard a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in a household with a lot of music, and I had siblings who were 15 years older than me, and so they grew up through like the 70s. They had Kiss records.
Yeah.
Right. Then my parents were like they liked country and rock and roll, so you know I'd hear
the Donnie and Marie.
Yeah. Well, I'd hear George Strait sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not a huge country fan, especially these days, but they were, you know, they'd have Bob Dylan albums. They'd have Johnny Cash. My mom is a huge Beatles fan, so that definitely steered me toward rock music. And,
oh, sure, yeah.
Still a huge fan of theirs, but they had a jukebox, right? Like
at home.
At home. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Like I said, I was fortunate. I had an awesome household to grow up in.
Yeah, sounds like
and it was singles.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there were certain ones I'd always play, but yeah, I guess I was formed early as far as like rock music. I liked like Lay Lady Lay by Bob Dylan when I was a little kid.
Wow.
You know, because, oh, let's play that on the jukebox. I like the sound of that. Elvis, some Elvis tunes.
So maybe Creepy Elvis does work?
Yeah. I'll take it. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. He's got a good voice, so
he does.
I'll take it. But then, yeah, I grew up through the 90s. So, like, you know, I would say around the same time I started playing in bands, Nirvana was coming around, Pearl Jam was coming around, Alice in Chains. And those fed in more, I think, in the early stuff that I recorded. When I was younger, it was a lot louder and rowdier.
Yeah.
You know. And then, yeah, just try to soak up good songwriting. You know, just sit and listen to Neil Young albums or Led Zeppelin albums and geek out over like how in the world does the drums on When the Levee Breaks sound like that? Oh, I have to know, right?
Yeah.
And now I do know now. They built, they recorded in like this English countryside mansion type place in a big foyer, big tall room, and mic'd up the drums in this room. But yeah,
wasn't that the one? Was it that one or Moby Dick that they put the drums at the bottom of the stairs?
I think it's that one.
Is it?
Or maybe they did them both that way. I don't know.
I can't remember which one it was. But,
yeah,
but I know I was. Yeah,
I watched the documentary that explained it
eventually.
Yeah, but
because that track is amazing.
Yeah, it's magical. It is. John Bonham. Wow. That's all you can really say.
Well, speaking of Zeppelin albums, and even trying to pick things out, like I love the way that back in, and maybe this still happens, and I just don't realize it, but they recorded like slightly out of tune, like the way that the engineering happened, like things came out.
Yeah,
slightly out of tune.
the Beatles have a lot of tunes like that too, where you go and listen to the record, and it's like, where am I supposed to find this on the neck?
Yeah.
And I honestly think like they just were so busy that they were like, I don't have time for tuning. Like I'm close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you tune to me? It'll be
Yes.
easier to tune the bass to me
Yeah.
because I'm already in tune. So let's do that. I think
Yeah.
that's probably what happened.
Really? You think? Well,
I think it was probably just a lazy accident,
well,
or they slowed down the tape or sped it up because they were doing drugs.
that. Well, there,
You know,
there
it
is
sounds
that.
better if it's a little slower.
Well,
you know,
like Zep 3, I think the entire album is
slightly
just
off
slightly
tune.
off tune because
Yeah.
I remember trying to play Friends. Like I was trying to learn how to play Friends,
Oh yeah.
and
I actually learned that not that long ago.
really,
Yeah, it's a drop D, so it's like
Yeah,
G,
so
G, D, and then a high E is down to D2.
yeah, no, so it's a completely like different tuning.
Yeah,
And I think it's played on a 12, right?
probably. It sounds like it.
And so I have a 12.
I'm ready to get one.
I love it.
I've been stopping myself from spending the money. Yeah.
You got to get a 12.
Well, yeah, soon.
Yeah.
You got to
Which is-
make it to.
Well, no. See,
I'm lucky at this point that like I actually get royalties from the placements and stuff. So I just hold off until I have enough coming in, and like, here's the next purchase.
yeah. Well, that's smart.
Well, it took 25 years to be able to get to that point.
Sure.
You know,
No,
I invested thousands I didn't have.
No, yeah, it's only slowly trickling back in.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, I remember learning how to. I tried. I had the Zeppelin book.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm gonna learn how to play Friends, and so I got my 12 all tuned
Oh,
properly.
goodness. Wow. Yeah.
Right?
Spent an hour and a half on that.
Exactly. And then, I go to play along with the record because that's how I would learn how to, that's how I would teach myself. I would play to the record. I take that first strum and it's so out of tune compared to the album.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on? Go back in tune. Everything's in tune.
Yeah.
And I go to strum again, play with Friends, and I'm like, it's still out of tune. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And I learned
It could just be tape speed.
that was,
issues
I think it was
or
a tape
something.
speed.
Yeah.
And they did that. That was purposeful.
Yeah.
At least for them, it was.
Yeah. We recorded wartime songs back in 2010 purposefully with like vintage gear recording to a tape machine.
Really?
Yeah. Like we sought after where to go.
That had to be.
And it was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have a couple funny stories that I have to share.
Oh, please do. Please do.
While we're chatting. So, first is we recorded down at St. Augustine with a guy named Jim DeVito. And Jim DeVito was, circle back around. You mentioned Leonard Skinner earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a roadie for them.
No way.
Like before they were gigantic. And then ended up being like an engineer in the studio for the Allman Brothers, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And so somehow, like, we got in touch with this guy. He has like a private compound with, his studio there. Got the okay, you can show up, and rehearsed like crazy, sold off. This was when I got off the road and I sold all my live gear to be able to buy plane tickets and pay for studio time.
Mm-hmm.
So we go down there to record with all these great amps, great instruments, with Jim DeVito, and Stan Lynch's snare drum was there.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Lynch from the
from the
Heartbreakers.
Heartbreakers. Yeah.
And we got to use that on that record.
That's cool.
The tune I played earlier, the Be Yourself tune, is on that album. It closes it out, I think, and got to play like a 1954 Jumbo Gretsch. I got to play a 72 Telecaster through like an old Mesa Boogie amp. It was like a dream come true.
Wow.
So the funny part of this,
candy store.
yeah, the funny part about this is we were there for one session.
Mm-hmm.
Came in the night before, set up all our gear, came back the next morning, and we were there for 16 hours.
Oh my.
And we got all 6 songs completely done.
No way. In 16 hours?
In one 16-hour session. We just got all the EP done.
That's incredible.
I take that back. I did end up doing like some vocal overdubs and some leads or something later on. But,
that's minor.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you did all the heavy lifting.
99% of it was done.
Yeah.
So at the end of that session, the God bless you, Jim, and thank you. At the end of the session, he said, "I'm never doing this again." I'm sorry, dude. We weren't trying to overwork you. We were just trying to, get our money's worth.
That is fantastic.
Reach our goal, I guess.
Yeah.
So the other story I have to tell,
Mm-hmm.
we were kicked out of a studio by a celebrity.
Oh.
Yep.
Like somebody musician?
Yes.
Or
yeah.
where was this?
This was at House of Blues Studios in Nashville. And so I think it was 2017. I believe that's when it was happening. So I mentioned Dustin, who I worked together with on production and writing and stuff. And so through him, I end up in a lot of places where I'm like, I don't know if I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here somehow,
Yeah.
you know.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So he got like intern rates or, you know, engineering insider rates to go and rent out the studio. I was like, wow, let's make use of that. So plan it out, go down there like in July, and we got to use Studio A at House of Blues, and it was super affordable. I think it was like $1,200 for a session or something.
Really?
So, which I mean, if you called them up, I'm sure it would probably be at least double, maybe triple of that.
Sure.
So either way, the night before, we're kind of working on what we're gonna do, and the phone rings, and Dusty's like grinning ear to ear. He's like, "This is the studio manager. He wants to know if it's okay if Miley Cyrus uses the studio and we switch."
Okay.
Right. Am I going to say no?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
But at least they asked, you know what the answer is going to be, but at least it was
Yeah.
like a courtesy, like, hey, last minute, somebody wants this room, you know?
Yeah.
So our band got booted out of Studio A at House of Blues by Miley Cyrus.
That's a cool story to have.
Yeah. And I meant to Google which tune it was. Like she came in to do some final vocal takes or something and then put that song out that week.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was like her like country album, like,
Okay.
or whatever that was.
Sure.
You know, whatever song was off that on the radio.
Yeah.
I didn't get to meet anybody. There was like bodyguards by the front door.
Of course. No,
we got, but it was like
seriously.
a happy accident though, because we got to use the cabin, which is called, it's called the cabin, but Studio D at House of Blues. And it's just so like hippied out. Like there's just
Felt more
Indian decor everywhere, tapestries. Just they had like a 1978 Neve console in there, and their tracking room. I'm not joking at all. Is completely to the specifications of Sun Records tracking room.
No way.
So they remade the sunroom basically for the tracking room at the House of Blues. Yeah. So we ended up getting to use that room, and yeah, it was a great experience. It really was. So yeah, that's my only real celebrity almost brush.
Yeah,
you know,
almost.
where it's like I got kicked out of a studio once. I didn't get to meet anybody. But,
no, sure. No, that's a
yeah.
very cool story.
And I'm glad that we got to bring it up. Like no one has ever heard that. You know,
really?
Oh yeah, because you know you don't want to be an opportunist. You don't want to be exploitative. You know, it's been enough time now.
Yeah.
And she was cool. It's not like they were jerks about it or anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, hey, they need the studio last minute. It's like, yeah, okay, there's another one. We'll use the other one.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, Miley Cyrus kicked us out of the studio.
That's such a great story.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I'm glad that you got to share it here.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I do want to mention also about the song we played earlier, just because it's dropping in my head now.
Mm-hmm.
So the second tune that I did was called Love So Strong.
Mm-hmm.
And this story ties back into Dusty too, because he called me on the phone one evening. He said, hey, my friend Corey called me up and he said that he could swear our song is on ESPN right now. And I was like, what? Like, what is it? And he was like, I'm watching. He's like, I'm watching it. I turned it on as soon as he called me. And he played it over the phone, and it was our song. And it was in a Bo Jackson documentary, 30 for 30.
No way.
And it was like a blanket licensing thing where I had just signed off and said, as an agent, just go make money, you know. So I got tired of signing things every time. And it just, I don't know. It just made more sense to do a blanket thing and let somebody pitch and pitch and pitch. So that's what happened, you know. And then that was sort of the beginning of, I don't know what our songs are doing. They're like living their own lives now. And I don't even have to okay it. I'm just like looking at a list of things now, you know, quarterly.
That is so cool. I was wanting to ask you, like, okay, so we mentioned that you were in, got a song in Bloodline and a song in Rebel Galaxy, the video game.
4 songs.
4 songs?
Yeah. They picked up songs like off of every album I did.
How does this even happen? Is this where you talk about like going in, giving just like a blank check to?
No. Well, some of it was just persistence.
Some of them.
Well, no. Well, I used to a lot. Oh, excuse me. I used to pitch a lot. But then I made contacts. Like I had a guy named Mike at a place called Noma Music in LA, and he's landed probably 5 or 6 different placements. And then there's a Canadian company that was pitching stuff for a while, and I don't think they really did much. Now we're working with Audio Socket, and I think they're based out of New York, and that's sort of a blanket license thing. But the Rebel Galaxy thing, I really do not have a clue how they found us. Like the developers of the game contacted me and said, we want to use this song, this song, this song, and this song. And I was like, yeah, awesome. And it's still like you can get on Xbox or PlayStation, whatever, go play that game. And while you're like flying the spaceship and shooting down other spaceships, it's our tune playing in the background.
That's awesome.
And there's a spin-off to the game, and the songs are in that spin-off. And I've played it a little bit. It's very in depth. Like you can change your playlist, but it's part of the preset playlist when you start the game.
Sure. Well, I mean, they have to pay for those rights, regardless of whether it's played or not.
Yeah,
so.
And I do have a creepy story, kind of, and I can't explain this at all. But the last time I remember placing a song, I woke up and thought it's about time for that to happen, and I got a call that day. I was like, it's about time, and then I got a call that day, and it was like a Mexican drama or something that paid us. It paid us like $500 to be in some soap opera or something in Mexico.
That is great.
Yeah, I was like, 500. Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
No, that is too funny. That is too funny. Gotta love how those things work out.
But patience, prayer, and persistence. The 3 Ps.
No, exactly.
And I can't say it enough. It's without all those things, you may be up against a wall eventually.
Yeah.
Because you got to just let go and let it do what it can do.
Exactly. So let's talk about the songs that we are about. I mean, you already recorded them, and people who have been watching the show this season know by now that we do the pre-record of the music and then play it.
Right.
Play it here in a few minutes.
You'll see it later. We already saw it.
Yes, we already did see it, and listen to it again because it was that good.
So yeah, "Love So Strong" was the second one I did, and that was the ESPN placement.
Okay. And the first song?
And "Be Yourself," that was the one I played the vintage Gretsch down in Florida, and I don't know if that's ever been in anything. Some of the other tunes off that same album were, there was a song called "Just a Game" that was put into a movie trailer for a Jake Gyllenhaal movie called Demolition.
Yeah,
and it was like him dancing on the street with headphones.
Okay,
so that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then "Love So Strong" actually was the first tune ever that I got to put into something. And I started the band in like 2006 after doing solo stuff for 5-6 years. And then the reason that came together was like I was sending out CDs back in the prime time of CD days before digital and streaming. And I would spend like $20 a week mailing stuff, which is, I don't know, 20 things, from the post office. So I'd go with all these packages of CDs and little write-ups and, hey, reach out if you like this and stuff like that. So that led to a placement on PBS of that song, "Love So Strong." And it was a show called Road Trip Nation. And it was people getting ready to like start college, and they would take them on like this countrywide RV tour and document the whole thing. And they would kind of pick people from different areas of the country. Yeah. And very, very PBS. Right?
Yeah, no, it sounds very PBS.
And so it ended up being an episode where they interviewed, the famous photographer from Woodstock. Like there's just an iconic, there's an iconic Hendrix.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about, but I can't
think of the name.
Yeah. But I know exactly who you're talking about.
But that was the episode. They interviewed him, and then it just so happened they interviewed a coach for UT in Austin, University of Texas, and she was from ISU in Terre Haute.
No way.
Yeah, just by coincidence. Like the first tune we got onto a show, they were interviewing a coach from UT who was from Terre Haute, or at least went to school in Terre Haute.
Sure.
So that was kind of a whoa.
That's
pretty. The world's not that small.
Did they know you were from Indiana?
No.
Or went to ISU? Did you go to ISU?
For a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't last very long there.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I have an office there now, but I did not attend there more than, I think, 3 semesters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, let's hear some music from you, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to JB Soul aka Brent. And check out some of this great blues action on his beautiful Breed Love guitar, which he recently got from Sweetwater. I mentioned that because we both recently got guitars from Sweetwater.
Yes.
And we both, and they're not
It's a
paying
great
us.
company.
It is a great company.
Yeah.
They're not paying us for anything for this. We just love Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And so we'll take a break. We'll hear some great music and we'll be right back.
You just got to be yourself. Don't try to be nobody else. Just got to be yourself. But don't try to be nobody else. Got to know just who you are. Be yourself now and you'll go far. Don't try to be nobody else. Just got to be yourself. Don't try to be nobody else. Oh, you just got to be yourself. You got to know just who you are. Be yourself now and you'll go far. You'll go far. Thought I'd get through to you by now. We gotta get through to you somehow. I gotta get through somehow. Ain't nothing wrong. Baby, when your love's so strong, thought I'd get through to you by now.
And welcome back. You just heard some great tunes from JB Soul, and I am again so thankful that you could be here.
Gratitude is mutual.
Fantastic. I love having people on the show
It's fun.
and getting to meet new people.
Yeah, this is fun, man. I can't imagine a more fun Tuesday night, honestly.
It's,
without liquor. There'd be liquor.
That's true. Well,
if there was liquor involved, then maybe.
Sometimes people bring beer. Just saying.
Yeah. Not on a Tuesday. Not anymore.
Let's talk about what you're working on now.
Okay.
And you just put out a single, didn't you?
Yeah. The Blue News just did a track called Hold On that we tracked in Nashville, actually, at a studio called 2300. Studio 2300 Nashville, I think is how you find it on the interwebs. It's actually in Dusty's basement. Like he and his roommate, Elton, his name's Elton Charles. I'll give a shout out to Elton. He's a good dude. He's like a country music touring drummer and excellent drummer. But it was just another one of those scenarios where it was like, man, I got a little bit of time off and there's nobody booked. So you want to come hang out? And I was like, yeah, sure. So go hang out for a night and just jam all day and see what happens. And so the song came together very, very quickly. It was just one of those scenarios. I mean, I've had songs I've worked on, I think, over a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The tune right before that one's called Feel All Right. And I think I revised that and tracked it several times over a year. It just, sometimes it comes together and sometimes you have to make sure that whatever your vision was in the beginning isn't lost.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
And I definitely, like, I was watching the previous episode, which was fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. And that's all credit to my guests. You guys make this show happen.
Well, it was a good episode, and they were talking about the same thing, basically. Like, sometimes months and months go by and you track it. Well, we can make the guitar sound better. Let's do it again, you know? And I've done that to where I just toss it eventually.
Wow.
Yeah. You just,
really?
Yeah. You work on it for months and months, and then you're just like, man, I've wasted too much time on this. Like, I've got other things to get on to. But it's always obvious to me as a writer. It's always like, well, if you're stuck in a rut, but like a new riff is in your head, then it's time to just move on and do the new thing because it's not going anywhere. You know, like, who knows, 10 years down the road, you go back through your hard drive and you find that tune and you're like, oh yeah, let's do it again and change the key. And then that'll work somehow, you know?
Now, see,
but I do love when they just come together.
True. No, it is. There's and now maybe it's just because it's my first album, but there are 2 tracks on my first album that are each like 15 and 16 years old by the time that they
oh, really? By the time you got them ready to record?
Well, for me, recording or for me, writing, it's like the music comes first. Lyrics always come second. I don't know why, but that's just been the case for me.
Yeah.
And so I've been sitting on these particular 2 tracks. Now, one stayed an instrumental.
Yeah.
But the second one finally got words, but I sat on it, for good 16 years.
Only 16 years.
Only 16 years.
When's your next one coming out, man?
2032.
2030. Yeah, exactly. We have so many similarities. We do. Like, we were talking on the break. We're the same, born the same year. I have 4 kids. You have 5 kids. Been married for ages, both of us.
Yeah.
We both have wonderful beards.
We do.
I'm getting mine to grow back. I shaved mine and it was driving me nuts. I just had to just shave it off. And
what?
My kids freak out though. So I'm not going to do it anymore.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, they freak out. They just look at me like this, constantly. And I'm like, oh, fine, I'll grow it back,
Yeah.
But, so you're working on your second album,
yes.
You mentioned. Yeah. How many tracks?
It's going to be 8.
8.
So, it's basically an album where faith meets depression.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I would ever call a worship album or even a Christian album.
Like a spiritual thing.
But it's a spirit, but it is, but I mean, it definitely, gets into the weeds in ways that I would say that those that do label their music Christian music doesn't.
Yeah. That's That's a box you have to fit into a certain way.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And it's not an easy box to fit into. And so,
No.
but
Once again, there are so many flavors.
there are.
Just like the blues, there's so many flavors of the big man.
Yeah, well, no. So true. So true. And so like my first album, I call it, we were discussing even before we got started, I used to work in politics. And I say that my first album is I've called it anything from my divorce album from politics to my deconstruction of politics,
Right.
just like, but it's basically me saying, raising the middle finger
Right.
to the world of politics.
That's awesome. It's awesome that you have the conceptualization of the entirety of the collection of music. That's cool.
Yeah, it felt like that, I think that's the pandemic and everything that was going on, the previous 5 to 6 years finally got something out of me that lyrically that I hadn't ever
I know what you mean. Right.
Before.
Yeah. You have to go through that suffering. You got to go through hell before you get to heaven.
Exactly. And so, and then, so this next album was actually kind of born out of a lot of depression.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I would argue everybody who lived through the pandemic and watched so many people pass on experienced it. Even if they say, "Oh, I'm not that type of person. I don't get depression." It's like, no. If you were alive, bruh, you need to admit your feelings about things.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's kind of where, the second album is coming from.
Yeah.
And just,
definitely lots of fuel lyrically, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, there is.
I want to share how I kept my sanity during the lockdown and the pandemic. My parents had an RV and I borrowed it. And I parked it out in front of my house. And it was just basically having 4 kids in the house. And after 3 weeks of, we can't really go do much of anything, it was like, I got to give these kids some kind of an escape.
Yeah.
And give me and my wife an escape too.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And so we had like virtual camping trips all the time. Like on the weekends, it'd be like, on Friday night, we're going to spend the night in the RV. And
that's so cool.
Just a change of scenery, even though we couldn't really go do much, And honestly, that saved us. I mean,
no, I believe it.
I was lucky though, because I worked from home, I would say 5 years before that all happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like not much changed as far as my work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still different when no one goes to school, no one goes away to do a thing.
Yeah. And that also, I think, affected, so we moved during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
So we were living in the suburbs. We moved downtown. And part of that was because once school started again, we were going to have where we wanted to send our kids would have taken us, 45 minutes,
there and
twice
back.
a day.
Yeah.
There and back. And that's not something that we thought was probably a smart idea.
Right.
And so
that's a good reason to move.
No, I mean, maybe not during a pandemic, but we did it anyway.
Yeah. Well.
And it's, but it was actually kind of stunning to see the effect that had, like even going back to school had an effect on the kids.
Oh yeah.
And, or not just
having to wear the masks and distance and everything being so different. Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot for them to have to deal with.
It was. Yeah. And we saw how that affected, especially like our oldest two, in a fairly negative way.
Oh yeah.
So
my daughter had a lead in a play right before it happened.
No.
Yeah. She was bummed. She was in 5th grade and they had like a party planned and everything, and messed out on every bit of it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the heartbreaking thing. When you have kids, it's just like, oh man, you're missing out on this and that. And it's a new normal. You know what I mean? Like we've definitely laxed and we've come back to something that resembles before that happened. But it's a new normal. Everybody had to adapt.
Absolutely. And there's always that lingering kind of thought right now in the back of your head, like, could it come back?
Right. Is it going to happen again?
Is it going to happen again?
Right.
Or with everything that's going on in the world, like it's maybe, what's happening next?
Right. Yeah. The thing that concerns me, and I like to differentiate these days between concern and worry and panic and all that.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Because especially in the English language and in our culture, we just kind of throw out these things without much thought. But like people were very panicked and very worried during that period, and it's a natural reaction. And I somehow pulled my head out and was like, remember what is worthy of worry. And what is worthy of just being concerned, right? What's problematic and what's um, without an answer, basically. And so, where was I even going with that?
I know we're having a very deep conversation now.
Yeah,
so I
here's
that.
what I was here's what I was telling my wife I'm concerned about. So you look back, and we had a pandemic in 2020, right? And then you look back at 1920, and there was a viral pandemic in 1920. Then you look back at 1820, and there was a viral pandemic in 1820.
There was in 1820?
Yes.
I did not realize
Early
that.
1800s, there was another outbreak. Yeah. I can't remember which one. But either way, I was like, oh, man, if this is like a pattern, when did World War I start?
Well, World War I started in 1915.
15. Oh, okay. Well, we already passed that mark, I guess.
Yeah.
But like
the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Oh, yeah.
So for those, you didn't know you were coming to get a history lesson and to know that the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the name of the band.
Yeah.
So,
Franz Ferdinand's a good band.
Yeah.
Got some good tunes. Back to what we should be talking about.
It all comes together.
It all does.
It all comes back together.
Does.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, I can relate with what you're saying though. Like lyrically, I definitely am in a different place I was 3 years ago. You know, when you experience something traumatic like that, it shifts your priorities and your whole perspective changes, right? Which is, sometimes the bad can lead to good. Sometimes the good can lead to bad. And the older I get, the more I see that kind of showing itself in life. I think it's helpful to look at it that way because then you don't get so carried away when the chips are down because they're just down for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not to get all deep and.
No, that's fun.
Yeah. I want to turn you on to somebody because you mentioned, sort of a devotional kind of aspect to your album. I stumbled on this group out of England, and they released 5 albums for God.
Okay.
And it's all devotional, but it's not like cheeky. It's not phony either.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are they're called Salt, but it's spelled SAULT. Look them up sometime.
I will.
Yeah, it's a husband and wife duo, and it's kind of like hip hop meets indie rock meets R&B.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sort of their influences that they draw from are very interesting. It's like one tune will sound a little bit like a Gorillaz tune, but then the next one sounds like an R&B song.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the Gorillaz.
That's true. That's true.
In many ways.
Yeah.
So maybe they've been hanging out with Damon Albarn for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's that's fascinating. And I mean the funny thing is that as I've been starting to as I've been finishing writing this one and recording, like I said, recording it here at the Engine Room Recording Company.
Engine Room Recording Co.
in Broad Ripple.
Google it.
Yes. That I've also been in the process of writing my third.
Oh,
and I'm almost actually done with writing my third.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I fall into that trap, too. Yeah, I form other bands sometimes. Like, all right, this is almost wrapped up. What's the name of the next thing? Yeah.
No, exactly. And, well, I didn't expect it to come this quickly, but it just did. And it's like, again, just kind of that it's more like the first, except that I feel like the first one was like you can hear all my influences. You can be this sounds like this sounds like that.
Oh yeah.
And this one, the second one, definitely is me, but it's definitely me in an era. And the third one is, I call it kind of almost like a sister album to the first one, except whereas the first one was kind of a hard and soft kind of side one, side two kind of thing.
I got you. Yeah.
Right now, the third one is just like in your face rock.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, you get the floodgates to open and it's hard to close it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're in that mode. So it's like, all right, I don't want to stretch this too far. You don't want 15 tracks on one release these days,
Not like they were in
That's
the
cool.
90s.
Yeah.
There were a couple 15-track albums. You're like, man, okay.
Oh yeah, Chili Peppers and
Oh yeah. They're like, guys, you should have known when to quit.
Yeah.
But so tell me real quick, you had talked, I can't remember if it was, no, this was before we even started the show.
Uh-huh.
You were talking about your experience in Terre Haute when you recorded your first album.
Yeah. Like when I opened a studio.
You opened a studio to
like 3 months.
Yeah. Basically to record your own album though.
Yes, for very selfish reasons. Yeah.
So tell me about that experience and what was that album like?
Oh wow. I would probably only let people hear one or two of the songs.
Oh yeah.
But I was 20, 21. I think it was 2001. So however old I was then.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taking classes, and this was actually around the time I took the history of jazz, blues, and rock thing that kind of turned me on to the blues. But
so you're probably 22, 23, if I'm doing my math right.
Yeah, that sounds right. So there was this little spot like right next to the campus that was previously a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mostly hip hop and rap, whoever was running it before, but it had like a soundproofed vocal booth and like an entry kind of lobby area and stuff. And
it's professional enough.
Right. Yeah. I didn't have to do any work to get in there and just set up and start to do stuff. And so, and it was cheap, it was not a very big space. And, so either way, my plan was like, I'll just go in, set hours throughout the week and charge people to do tunes, and mostly tracked vocals more than anything else. Did track a few bands during that 3-month period. And I would just close up and then work on my own stuff late at night. And once I finished my album, it was a solo album under my own name, which was a mistake, but
don't tell me that, because that's how my first album was out.
Well, your last name is easier to remember than mine.
But it's not like people are searching up Gillespie all the time. So it's not like it's something as easy as Brown or Cyrus.
Right.
So just to come full circle on that.
Yeah. But so either way, I mean, even taking the risk on that, it didn't really go anywhere other than like a couple of performances, right? I got to play at Madison Square Garden because of that album.
No way.
Yeah. It was like an indie film and music festival deal.
Still, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was.
You can say you played
and that's
Madison
like the one
Square.
that was I can. Yeah. And I met Chris O'Halloran, who's an actor from he was Dante in Clerks, for the Kevin Smith movie. So I met that dude. He was a legit guy. He was a good guy.
Cool.
So one of the tracks off of that album actually I kind of revised, and it became a Blue News tune.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was originally, what was it called before? I don't remember the original title, but it was like a sampled loop that I wrote a guitar thing over and then just put lyrics on, and my friend came in and played like hand drums on it, and that was the tune out of all of them that kind of stuck out to me. And so just sent it off to a couple of different people, and got this opportunity. Took a train, went up to Chicago, got on a train, took the train from Chicago to New York, and it was a cool opportunity. I actually met musicians from Bloomington that connected me with players back in Terre Haute.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, another small world thing where like got on a train in Chicago, went to New York, met somebody from Bloomington, they led me to players in Terre Haute.
It's a triangle, really, is what's going on here.
Yeah. And those kind of things are there, when you take those risks, I feel like those are like little signs that pop up where it's like a little bit of affirmation, possibly, where it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's always like you're out on a limb. Like, I can't afford, I've got a kid and a wife, I can't afford to get a plane ticket, so I'm going to take a train. And, when you have those kind of considerations, it's nice to be like, well, I probably was meant to take that jump.
Yeah.
which of course sometimes goes wrong, but
If you
but
don't
you're still
try-
taking the risk,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you don't take the risk, you don't know.
One of my favorite meme quotes is something like, it's much better to make mistakes than do nothing.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's a good motto to live by, because who's not making mistakes if you're trying to do anything?
Yeah.
So
what are you working on now then?
thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Thank you for asking. I've got a new track called Trouble
Mm-hmm.
that is a little more Southern blues, I guess, than stuff I've done before. And then my wife and a friend of ours named Ari Musique, who I mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
are singing backups on that tune.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and then I've also got Paul Hoffman playing some keys on it.
Very cool.
And then doing a cover of Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And that's currently, I sent that after I got back from Germany. I sent it to Dusty in Nashville. So we'll have probably drums and bass done down in Nashville for that cover tune. I try to keep everything I can as far as pre-production in my studio. And these days, like when I was younger, I would kind of wing it a little bit. But these days, I'm like, if I'm going to get time at a console, I want it to be like post-production and editing mostly.
Mm-hmm.
If we have to do overdubs for this or tracking for this, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm handing over cash to sit at a console, I want to have like all the tracks down.
Yeah.
Just because I have the ability, and I'm fortunate. I decked out my basement a little bit so that I can track drums, I would say almost as well as you could.
No way, really?
In Nashville. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So don't mind me. I'm actually just...
Oh, no worries. No worries. But I try to keep it simple. It's just mostly, sort of having the right angled walls and the right diffusers and the right dampening and all that, boring engineering aspect stuff. But
speaking of boring engineering aspect stuff,
yeah,
I want to talk about the Engine Room Recording Company real quick.
Absolutely.
So what? Did you like that, Anthony? Yes. All right. So my producer Anthony loved that transition there. And we're going to talk about the Engine Room Recording Company, which is where we're doing this podcast, which is where I'm recording my album, which is where Huxley, my previous guests, are recording their album. And so many other people are currently recording their albums right now that Anthony's overwhelmed.
I can tell Anthony knows what he's doing.
Anthony does know what he's doing.
If I make it back to Indy and I need drums, I'm coming to Anthony.
You absolutely should. And you should always bring other people to the Engine Room Recording Company. They're located in Broad Ripple Village, just north of downtown Indianapolis, and they specialize in making your projects go. Podcasters, bands, audio, bookers, rappers, singers, songwriters, and everywhere in between, and everyone in between.
Yodelers. You left out yodelers.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they'll do yodeling here. They will track that. The Engine Room Recording Company has the engineers, the equipment, and the experience and environment to fuel your projects. Check out Broad Ripple's recording studio by visiting for more information on their services, artists they've recorded, and gear they have at engineroomrecordingcompany.com. And be sure to visit their Instagram page by searching up at Engine Room Recording Company. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you.
I have thoroughly enjoyed
Thank you.
this.
I feel like we talked about like everything we could think about to talk about.
I think we probably have. But I want to ask you, have we left anything out? Is there anything that you would like to talk about or plug? Do you have anything coming up that needs to be plugged?
Oh, I'm going to be playing like an in-store in April or May, I think, down in Terre Haute. And I have reached out to, I think it's called Irvington.
Yes.
Here in Indy.
The neighborhood, yeah.
Yes. I'll follow up with them. And I definitely am gearing up to perform. But I don't have any solid dates to plug right now.
Sure. Well, where can they find you on the socials?
Oh, just search the Blue News. Just Google that, and it'll probably take you to our website, and that'll link out to all the social network stuff. Okay. That's the easiest way to find it.
Is that going to be a problem with the other band in Europe?
Music. No.
Okay.
No, they're going to find us.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not become a problem yet for anybody else. But,
search up the Blue News.
Yeah. Just Google the Blue News and follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram.
And
I guess the last thing.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, I was gonna say you can also catch them on the Voices of Indy Volume 3 playlist on Spotify, where I have songs from everyone who has been on this show this season.
Oh, wonderful. Nice.
And
thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which tune did you put on it? Do you remember?
I haven't put it on there yet.
Oh, okay. Oh no, on the spot.
On the spot.
I'll be interested later to
Yes.
you listen a bit and pick one.
So they will be on there, but you'll have, you have Angel Maker, you've had John Boyle, Joshua Powell, Rhyme-A-Side, everyone who's been on, except for American Beach, because he doesn't have anything out yet.
He's got to get on that.
He does, and he is. He is currently working on that. As soon as he gets his album done, we'll be getting a song on that playlist.
Yeah, awesome.
And then we'll be having stuff from JB Soul and the Blue News.
Yep. And I definitely want to make sure and say this to anyone watching: be kind to one another.
Amen. Amen. And that is a great final word to end on. Thank you, Brent. I really do appreciate you coming on.
Yes, it's been great, Josh.
And JB Soul, Brent, the Blue News, thank you so much for being on the show.
Coming soon to a venue near you.
Absolutely. And that's going to do it for this week. Tune in next week when my guests will be Twice Dark, the synth pop band. They're going to be fantastic. I can't wait to have them in. If you enjoyed Angel Maker, you're going to love these guys. See you again next week.